Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. In this video, I'm going to explain to you a very fascinating chapter which is called India, that is Bharat. You would recall, and I'm not sure how many of you read newspapers, you would recall some months back there was this major debate over whether India should be called India or whether Bharat should be the name. Now, the Constitution of India says India, that is Bharat, right? So the Constitution of India carries both names, right? So भारतीय संविधान जो है उसमें भारत भी है, इंडिया भी है, right? So इस particular chapter में we will read about where did the different names of our great country come from. That's what is going to be fascinating about this particular chapter. So let's get straight into the chapter. Okay, so India, that's Bharat, chapter 5 of your social science textbook of NCERT, Exploring Society, India and Beyond. Sri Aurobindo, whose ashram you may have heard of, at least in Puducherry. In India, at a very early time, the spiritual and cultural unity was made complete and became the very stuff of the life of all this great surge of humanity between the Himalayas and the two seas. When we are talking about Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, about which we have already studied in geography in the second chapter, Oceans and Continents. So you're talking about spirituality, you're talking about the cultural ethos of our country, and then there is a sea of humanity, the entire people of India living in this country, and below you have the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. So those are the questions that we are going to talk about. So if you are looking at this particular map, please look at this particular map very carefully, especially in the left-hand side. You have the Indus River, right? This particular name is extremely significant. Okay, let me make this into red color. Okay, so that it's easy. So you have the Indus River, and then you see the different rivers that also originate from Indus River as its tributaries. You have river Jhelum out here, Jhelum. You have Chenab, you have Ravi, you have Beas, you have Satluj, and you have Saraswati, which is not really seen on the surface. So you have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rivers we are talking about. So just make a mental note of this. Okay. And thereafter we have Ganga, Yamuna, Chambal, Mahanadi, Narmada, Tapi, Tapti, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, etc. below. Okay, so this is the India map. Focus on the rivers. Just, ensure that you are understanding the rivers carefully. Now, let's go now, and I will explain to you why I asked you to concentrate on the rivers. Now, India, the way we know today, was very different 500 years ago. It was even more different 2000 years ago. And of course, very different 5,000 years ago. So this is known as the Indian subcontinent. When we say the Indian subcontinent, we are also including Pakistan. We are also including Bangladesh. We are also including, in a sense, Nepal, Bhutan. This is all part of the Indian subcontinent. Okay, even Sri Lanka. So you need to look at it in entirety. So if I may just move this map. So you see Sri Lanka is here. You have Bangladesh, you have the Himalayas, Nepal, and you have Pakistan. This entire thing was known as the Indian subcontinent. Now, in the course of history, India has been called by many names. This basically chapter is about Namkaran, about the various names of India. So it was called by different names by the people who resided in India, and by different names by the people from outside who came into India. Okay. And that's what is fascinating. So inhabitants essentially mean people who live in a particular place. We are all inhabitants of India, right? We live in this country. Now, how Indians named India. Now, if you're seeing this map all over again with all those rivers that I pointed out to you, now you must have heard of the word Rigveda. Rigveda, Samveda. Let me just write it out for you. Rig Veda. These are all the ancient Hindu scriptures texts. Okay. Rig Veda, Samaveda, then Atharvaveda, and Yajurveda. Okay, these are the four Vedas, which are the ancient Hindu texts that tell you about all different kinds of religious customs, the way of Hindu way of living, everything. Okay, so it is several thousand years ago old. Because of Rig Veda, the northwest region, that is this particular region that you are seeing along the Indus River, the entire northwest part, which will include today's Pakistan, that part was known as the Sapta Sindhava. Okay, Sapta Sindhava, it was known as, that is the land of the seven rivers, which is why I counted for you. I will do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 Janab. So these are the seven rivers. Sapta means seven. Sindhava is a reference to the rivers. So the word Sindhava comes from Sindhu, because Indus River was also referred to as the Sindhu River, right? So, and at times a river in general. So that's where the name Sindhava came from. Understood? Yahan tak clear hai? Now, later on, we also see the Mahabharata, which is one of the greatest, events which have taken place in ancient India. There are many regions which have been listed in the stories within the Mahabharata of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. There is mention of Kashmira, which is more or less today's Kashmir. There is mention of Kurukshetra, which is parts of Haryana today. Kurukshetra, Haryana mein shahar hai aajkal. Vanga, which is parts of Bengal today, right? Then there is this place called Pragya Jyotisha, which is today's Assam. Then Kutch, which is the run of Kutch, which is in today's Gujarat. And Kerala, which is more or less today's Kerala. Okay, so the Mahabharata mentions all these different regions. So it kind of gives you the confidence that this kind of a story, these kind of incidents, these kind of events actually took place in ancient India, right? So the Mahabharata also importantly uses the term Bharatvarsha, okay, and Jambudvipa. These are two names which were used by the Mahabharata, and scholars generally agree that this long poem, Mahabharata in general, was written a few years, centuries BCE onward. Okay, so that's what is the general date history, but of course there could be contradictions to this. Different historians may have a different viewpoint on this. Now the first term, Bharatvarsha. Now listen to this carefully, because there's a fascinating story. Okay, I did some research, and I've, beyond your textbook, I've done some research to make it more easy for you to understand. So the first term, Bharatvarsha, essentially refers to the entire subcontinent, and the text includes the names of different rivers and people. So Bharatvarsh means the country of the Bharatas. Now Bharata is the name which first appears in the Rig Veda. Okay, so it refers to one of the main Mevdi groups of people, and in later literature there are several kings named Bharata who are mentioned. Now here I will tell you something very interesting which I found out. Now, Bharata Chakravarti, let me write it out here so that you can note it down. Bharata Chakravarti, okay, he was a very big and popular king in Hindu literature, and he is considered the founder of the Bharata dynasty. That is, the Bharata lineage of kings was founded by Bharata Chakravarti. Okay. Now, he is considered the ancestor of both the Pandavas and the Kauravas who fought during the Mahabharata. Okay, तो आपको समझ में आ गया, Pandavas and Kauravas के ancestor थे Bharata Chakravarti, and according to the Mahabharata, Bharata was the son. There was to be a king Dushyant of Hastinapur, जो की राजधानी थी पांडवा और कौरवास की, and Queen Shakuntala. So दुष्यंत और शकुंतला का बेटा था भरत चक्रवर्ती, जो कि एक काफी शक्तिशाली राजा माना जाता था, एंड उसके नाम पर this entire land came to be known as Bharatavarsha, and that is the story which I thought was interesting. The second name, Jambudvipa. Now this is also very interesting. Okay, It means the island of the fruit, island or the land of the fruit of the jamun tree, because यहाँ पर जामुन के पेड़ काफी थे. So that's what it was known as Jambu Dvipa. Dvipa means island. Jambu is the name because of jamun. So this is a common tree native to India, also known as, पहले जामुन से पहले इसका नाम था जम्बुल ट्री. इसको जम्बुल कहते थे, या अगर केरला में उगाया जाता था उसको मलाबार प्लम ट्री कहते थे. So Jambu Dvipa came to mean the Indian subcontinent. So Bharatvarsha, because of the story what I told you, and Jambu Dvipa were the two names which are mentioned in the Mahabharata. And Ashoka the Great की तो कहानियां आपने सुनी होंगी, इनका नाम आपने सुना होगा, right? So his date is about 250 BCE. So as we will see now, he has left us a lot of inscriptions. In one of them, he used the same name Jambu Dvipa to describe the whole of India, which at the time included what is today's Bangladesh, Pakistan, as well as even parts of Afghanistan. Now, इसमें map a few regions listed in the Mahabharata. Okay, now this is interesting. मैं इसको बताता हूं आपको. South से चलते हैं. Cholas के बारे में सुना होगा. If you go to Madurai, you will see the famous temple out there, right? The temple, it's like a palace kind of a thing. Kerala, of course, you know. Kishkinda is like today's Telangana in a sense. Okay, roughly. Okay. Then you have the Kalinga Empire, which is today's Odisha, right? Vidarbha, the entire Maharashtra region. Saurashtra, today's Gujarat region. And then you have out here Kashi, which is Varanasi, today's Varanasi. This is today's Assam. This is today's Magadha, is today's Bihar. And this is that entire part of Punjab, Haryana, and Delhi, right? So this is the entire thing of how the different kingdoms were known by different names in the Mahabharata in present day India. Okay. Fascinating, no? You're almost mixing up our cultural history with our ancient history with a bit of mythology also. Now, a few centuries later, Bharata became the name generally used for the Indian subcontinent. इसी वजह से आज का नाम भारत है. Okay. विष्णु पुराण में कहते हैं the country that lies north of the ocean, Indian Ocean के north में, and south of the snowy mountains, which is Himalayas, is called Bharata. तो इवन इन द विष्णु पुराण में भी इसका जिक्र किया गया है. इट हैज बीन मेंशन्ड इवन इन द विष्णु पुराण दैट द लैंड व्हिच इज साउथ ऑफ द हिमालयास एंड नॉर्थ ऑफ द इंडियन ओशन इज नोन एज Bharata. So the name Bharata or Bharata remains in use even today. In North India, it's known as Bharat. In South India, we refer to it as Bharata. Okay. Have you identified the snowy mountains, Himalayas? I told you. Now, it's interesting to note that in different parts of India, the country adopted a similar definition for India. For instance, in a poem in Tamil literature, it praises a king, maybe the Cholas or the Pandyas, whose name is known from Cape Kumari. Cape Kumari kaun sa hai? Obviously, it is today's Kanya Kumari. Kanya Kumari ko pehle kya bolte the मालूम है? Cape Cameron. Okay, so Cape Kumari in the south, that is Kanyakumari, from the Great East Mountain in the north, which is the Himalayas, from the oceans on the east, which is the Bay of Bengal, and on the west, which is the Arabian Sea. So now you can identify कि पहले के scriptures में ही हमारे देश के बारे में elaborately it was mentioned that even in the old scriptures, the geography of India, of Bharat, was mentioned in great detail. Okay, so ancient Indians knew their geography very well, and you also need to know your history and geography very well. So you see how we are combining geography, history, and cultural history. The Indian Constitution, which was first written in English, uses the phrase India, that is Bharat. That is, this country has two names, India and Bharat. And we will come to know, we have now learned how the name Bharat came. Now we will learn how the name India came. Okay. So the Hindi version of the Constitution mentions Bharat Arthat India. Arthat means alas. Okay. That is, it's another name. Now, how now we come to know how foreigners named India. Bharat ka ho gaya, India. Now the first foreigners to mention India were the Persians, the ancient inhabitants of Iran. Okay. Now in the 6th century BCE, a Persian emperor launched a military campaign and gained control of a region of the Indus River, that is in the northwestern part of India, which as we know was called Sindhu. So in their early records, they started referring to this Sindhu. Okay, lekin Persians referred to India as Hind, Hidu or Hindu. Okay, because in ancient Persian, Hindu is a purely geographical term. It does not refer to people of the Hindu religion. इस बात का ध्यान रखिए. They are not referring to people of a particular religion. They are referring to a geographical area. Okay, so वो Sindhu को they were referring to it as Hind or Hidu or Hindu. These were the names. So that's how the name Sindhu became Hindu or Hidu or Hind. Now, based on these Persian sources, then the Greeks named the region as Indoi or Indaik, because they dropped the initial letter H of Hindu, because H letter did not exist in the Greek alphabets. It does not exist in the Greek language. So H drop ho gaya. So it became Indoi or Indaik. So Sindhu became Hindu, Hindu became Indoi or Indaik. Great? समझ में आ गया. Now, यहाँ पे Chinese लोग इस तरफ से they also started interacting with, because there are a lot of Chinese travelers who used to travel to India. So they started referring in their Chinese text to India as Yintu or Indu. Okay. So Sindhu became Hindu, Hindu became Indu or Yindu in the Chinese language. So this is in Greek, this is in Chinese. Okay, interesting how different languages are slowly changing the name of our country. Okay, now this is the page of the Constitution of India, and you see this is the English one, India, that is Bharat. Okay, so agar aapse koi kahe ki kya hoga, so you have to say both names are mentioned in our constitution, okay, which was framed by B.R. Ambedkar and his colleagues and adopted on the 26th of January 1950, when India became a republic. Now, this is the first page of the Constitution of India. Now, there was this particular traveler who traveled from China to India. His portrait is here in the 7th century. Now, he visited many parts of India, met scholars and all. There he translated the manuscripts he took back from him, and several other Chinese scholars also visited him. So, ये spelling जरा ध्यान रखना, okay? ताकि आप spelling mistake ना करें अगर इसके ऊपर कोई MCQ आए. Now, another Chinese word also was derived from Sindhu, which was Tianzu, okay? But this word was also meaning heavenly master. Maybe it was a reference to Lord Buddha, because this was also the birthplace of Lord Buddha. So therefore, it was also referred to as Tianzu, which meant heavenly master. So basically, it is a reverence for Lord Buddha that the Chinese had. Now, उसके बाद नाम आया है हिंदुस्तान, जो कि आज भी काफी इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, right? So Hindustan is an Arabic term. Hindustan is an Arabic term with a bit of influence of Persian, but basically an Arabic term. Okay, so it was used in a Persian inscription about 1800 years ago, but Arabic term, but with Persian influence. So इसीलिए you will have to write these names. So Chinese में बात करें तो it will be Indu. Okay, Greek में बात करें तो Indoi और Indaik. पर्शियन की बात करें तो सिंधु, एंड अरबिक एंड पर्शियन की बात करें तो हिंदुस्तान. ओके, नाउ we just revise it. India has many names, both Bharat and India, and we have learned how the name India finally came. We have learned about these two names and their meanings, Bharatvarsha and Jambu Dweepa. And foreign visitors or invaders मतलब जो आक्रमण करके यहाँ पर कब्जा करते थे, they kind of basically based it on the Indus River. सिंधु नदी से हमारे देश का नाम काफी हद तक इंग्लिश में आया है. So the India name is essentially coming from the Indus River. Okay, so that's how it is. Question and answers we will do later, but I found this chapter quite fascinating. I hope you also enjoyed it. And I look forward to now meeting you in the next video, which will be on history chapter, the social science chapter number 6. Okay, tata, bye bye. Thank you very much.